So I learned how to breathe better. I had no idea how much breathing mattered, how it could affect the structure of our faces, the quality of our sleep, how long we would live. For the past month, I spent every single day doing breath work, and I'm going to take you on my journey with the breath so far. Enjoy. Get comfortable. Can you guys hear me? Just kidding. Hello, my name is Shomari, and I spent the past month doing breath work every single day. I'm going to be telling you what I learned and why this matters to you. First of all, Breath by James Nestor. I got this book last year, and the book storekeeper person told me, hey, this book changed my life. I recommend you get this one. And so I did. I read it, and I'm going to give you some of my main takeaways from the book that are laid out by James Nestor. So I'm going to put on my James Nestor glasses and just tell you some of the important things to know about the breath. Don't use your mouth. Using your mouth is bad for several reasons. One of the reasons is that it has no filter. It causes us to often overbreathe. And thirdly, all other mammals, out of the 5,400 mammals on the planet, we're the only ones that use our mouths, except for dogs. And dogs use their mouths to thermoregulate, so that is not really to be taken into consideration. What's the solution? The nose, you guessed it. So breathing in through our nose solves the issues created by the mouth, because the nose, the whole host of passageways that heat up the air coming in, moisten the air, filter it, and also restrict or pressurize the amount of air coming in, which solves the overbreathing issue. When you inhale through your nose, you actually can't get in as much air, but this is not a bad thing. When we're breathing in through the mouth, we're able to take in more air, right? But when we're taking in this air that's not pressurized, not filtered, not moistened, not heated up, it stresses our body out. Nestor points out you should try just breathing in through your mouth for 20 seconds, just like that, and see how you feel. Notice it's not the greatest feeling. Another benefit of breathing in through the nose is that we're actually able to extract 20% more oxygen from the air that we breathe in through our nose as opposed to our mouths. Over the course of a lifetime, 20% is gonna add up. I mean, over the course of a day, 20% is gonna add up. The third thing, stop using your mouth, use your nose, third thing, is lung capacity. Nestor points out that in a study done 40 years ago among 5,000 participants, it was found that the #1 marker for longevity was actually lung capacity, not genetics or diet, as some people might think. That's a pretty astounding finding, and what it means is that the bigger your lungs are, that's gonna have the best effect on how long you're going to live. How can you do this? How can you improve your lung capacity? Well, you can exercise. Exercise is great. Cardio, weightlifting, anything that gets your heart rate up. Obviously, exercise has a whole host of benefits to it, but improving your lung capacity is one of them. Yoga is really great as well, because you're actually stretching out your torso, allowing your lungs more room to grow, to expand. Exercise, yoga, breath work, all things that can help improve your lung capacity. The next thing to point out is the importance of slowing down your breath. Now, I pointed out the issues that arise with overbreathing. They can stress out your body and put you in a state of fight or flight, constantly alert and ready, and that's not a state that we need to be in all the time. Fortunately, it's very easy to fix this, and you simply just slow your breath down. Now, the perfect breathing rate, found in this book and across other texts, is 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out, which is a long time to most of us, all right? Most of us are like breathing like crazy. Now that's quite a big jump, maybe starting with 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. It's a great place to start. If I'm driving, I've started to just kind of have a mental reminder like, oh, I should focus on my breath a little bit here, make sure I'm focusing on the breath. Slowing down a little bit definitely has some calming effects. So slowing down your breathing is going to allow you to enter a more relaxed state, because it's sending signals to your brain that you're in a safe place. Slowing down your breathing will also help balance out your CO2 and oxygen levels, so that you're actually able to utilize more oxygen as it enters your bloodstream. The final tip is to hold your breath, and this comes in 2 forms. It's bad if you're unconsciously holding your breath, and it's good if you're doing it consciously. So on the bad side, if you're at your office and something stressful comes up, a stressful email, or your boss is looking at you and thinks you should be doing more work. You know you should be doing more work, so you get stressed out, so you start holding your breath. You won't know you're holding your breath. It's unconscious, and this happens all the time. Nestor points out that an estimated 80% of office workers hold their breath. That is bad. On the flip side, if you're consciously holding your breath, this can be good for you. Holding your breath for longer periods of time can actually improve your tolerance of carbon dioxide levels within your body, which can be great for athletic performance. You can actually go deeper within your body, which can then be used as a tool to enhance your athletic performance or enter a state of focus or calm, and you can even heat up your body when you're cold. So those are some of the most important takeaways from your breath, laid out by James Nestor in this book and also in a video that I will link down below. Breathe through your nose, improve your lung capacity, slow down, and hold your breath consciously. Now, transitioning to the next part of this, how? I mean, those are all the tools, but how can you make it a habit? I decided to do the Wim Hof method for the past 30 days. So, let me explain that to you. Okay, so the Wim Hof method. I had a family member who introduced me to the Wim Hof method. He is a psychiatrist and he's a kind of a health nut like myself. And he told me about it 2 years ago, and I had known a little bit about meditation and breath work, but didn't give it a shot. Then this past Thanksgiving, we had a conversation again, and I was like, you know what? Let me give this a shot. And I had just read the James Nestor book, so I thought, you know what? I really should just try this. So I did it the day after Thanksgiving, and wow, it was great. I felt a whole rush of body sensations, and it was just something I'd never experienced before. So I continued to experiment, and for the past 30 days, I did it every single day. I'm about to tell you the basics of how to perform the Wim Hof method, but you can also use the app. It makes it a lot easier. So the basics are 35 breaths with a full inhale. You want to fully inhale into the belly, chest, head, and then let it go. Full inhale into the lungs, right? And when you exhale, you don't empty your lungs. That's one of the most important things to pay attention to. Full inhales, but not full exhales. So after you've done the 35 breaths, now you enter the retention phase. You let the air go and you hold your breath for as long as you can, comfortably. After you feel like you can't hold your breath anymore, you do an inhale and you hold for 15 more seconds. After 15 seconds are up, you let the air go and you begin the 35 breaths again. So that's one round. 35 breaths, retention phase, and then a 15-second inhale and hold at the top of your lungs. So that's it. 3 to 4 rounds, takes about 20 minutes, and you're done. So after doing the Wim Hof method for a month, I can safely say it was a success. It was nice to have something in my day where it was just me time. I carved out this time, 20 minutes in the morning before anything else, to just breathe. And I found that when I was conscious with my breath, when I focused on my body sensations, the air coming into my nostrils, into my lungs, I was able to go into a very relaxed state. And it got deeper and deeper, the sensations in my body get stronger, and my retentions got longer. Now, there were days when I struggled to maintain concentration on my body and my breath, and on those days, my retention suffered as well. The experience was not as fun. It wasn't as successful on some days. So I would say that the key to success is surrender. When I surrendered to the breathing, when I surrendered to the body sensations and went deeper into that, that's when my retentions got longer. And when I got the more relaxed states, when I got the mental clarity after. So relaxation through surrender is the most important factor for my practice. The past month has been transformative. From rereading the book Breath by James Nestor and practicing the Wim Hof method, I was able to increase my breathing retention time from 1 minute and 30 to 3 minutes and 40. I felt a whole host of new bodily sensations. I reached mental clarity and relaxation that I've never experienced before. And the idea of holding my breath for 5+ minutes now seems like a very near possibility and something that I'm excited to be doing. The importance of improving my own lung capacity. It just excites me from the standpoint of maybe doing an underwater excursion. Then also the longevity idea, being able to live longer, more healthfully, being able to perform at the highest level when in the gym, on a run, swimming, whatever it is. I think the performance and the longevity are two things that really make making a breathwork practice worth it. So there you have it. The knowledge, the methods, and the results. Highly recommend the breath book, highly recommend the Wim Hof Method app. Please share this with somebody who breathes and comment while holding your breath and breathe like your life depends on it, because it does.
When I first thought of meditation, like maybe a year ago, I don't know, just deep breathing for what purpose? For mindfulness, to maybe calm down. But I just didn't really understand it. And I'm still learning. I'm still very much learning. I'm in the early stages. But one of the ways that I think about it is a way that I'm kind of going to the gym for my brain. And when you sleep, that's like the best gym for your brain. That's just complete rest and reset. And when you're doing a kind of non-sleep deep rest, such as meditation, it allows you to kind of recalibrate, consciously recalibrate with your body and your mind and your spirit. And it takes time. It's not easy. It's like when you first go to the gym, you don't really know what you're supposed to be doing. You're kind of like, hey, should I go over here? How many sets, how many reps? What days do I train this? When you start meditation, I feel like it's kind of similar. You're like, okay, how do I not think about something? Okay, I'm just thinking about my breath. I'm thinking about my lungs. Okay, I'm thinking about some chores I have to do today. Where do I navigate my brain space? So it's not easy, but there's a lot of power in it. And just working on it, working to get that silence and that peace. But anyway, I think the breath is really important. And I think breath helps you become grounded. Listening to your heart, understanding how delicate it is and how blessed you are to have a body. Sometimes you just wake up and you just get your day started, you're just talking to people like, we're in this simulation. But if everyone were to move around the world being, with a sense of love and peace and gratitude, it would just be a whole different environment. It really would.
How much of your life have you forgotten? Personally, I've had days, weeks, and months go by without me really noticing that the time is just gone, and I usually feel like there's something I would have liked to remember, or sometimes I learn something interesting and it kind of slips away. So the question that comes out of that is, how do I make the most of my time, and how do I remember more? And something that I've come across has been writing. The power of writing has really helped me transform my life. Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Shomari Francis, and in this video, I'll be sharing the 3 journaling methods that have helped me use writing to transform my day-to-day life. I've felt more present than ever before. I feel like I've unlocked creativity from like when I was a kid, and I've also built momentum in my productive work. So I'm gonna share that in this video. I would easily say it's one of the most rewarding habits I've developed in the past year. Now, there's a lot of different approaches you can take to journaling, but the 3 methods that I practiced were gratitude journaling, a morning pages, and a reflection journal. And in this video, I'll be explaining what each one is, how it helped me, some of the obstacles of each one, and I'm hoping that they can serve as an example of what you can apply. Okay, so the first journal I'm gonna talk about is the 5-minute journal, which I call the gratitude journal. This book I started on the 1st of the year, 2023, and have continued it almost every single day. It lasts for about 6 months, and then I got a second one. So this is my second book. I'm a repeat buyer. But this journal is really great. It starts off with a little explanation of how journaling works, the basic principles, and why it's so important to write. So I really like how it gives that overview and kind of primes you to take advantage of writing. The basic layout of this journal is it has a quote at the very top, but you start off with the things that you're grateful for. So write 3 things, and it's hard to understate how important gratitude is. It makes you grounded, it makes you happy, and it makes you think of things bigger than yourself. You write what you're grateful for, you write what would make the day great, and this is also amazing because it kind of sets in motion, okay, what can I do to make this day great? And then you write an affirmation. So that's the morning section. Then in the evening, you write the 3 highlights of the day and 1 thing that you learned. This journal is great. It's simple, it cultivates gratitude, which cultivates joy and presence in your life, and I really enjoyed doing it. Ultimately, it gets you started with journaling. So this is a really great place to start if you have not journaled at all. It's also fun to look back at a glance. You can just flip through the pages and see some of the highlights that you've had, some of the things that you've learned. One of the areas that the gratitude journal is insufficient would be creative expression. It would also be inefficient if you didn't just hit the like button right now. It's pretty easy and helps me out a lot. Thank you. If you are looking for creative expression, that's where the next journaling technique comes in. Moving on to the second form of journaling, you can use any notebook for this. It's called The Morning Pages, which is actually from a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I have this book right here. I actually haven't read it, but I've heard a lot of other people talking about it, and the idea that I ran with was just writing out whatever was in my head and putting it on the page. So wherever that goes, just write. It doesn't matter if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, but just to write what's going on inside of your head. This is massively beneficial because it allows you to understand what you're thinking about by putting it on paper. And once it's on paper, you can take a step back and kind of leave it there. One of the major things that I loved about doing the morning pages that happened very often was it sparked my creativity, especially doing it in the morning. I would just write, and then I would connect ideas that I hadn't thought of before. And sometimes in our day, we just have so many distractions, but by doing it in the morning, hence the morning pages, you're able to go into a flow state and you make some beautiful connections, and it might be about your dreams, it might be about people, but I've just found that it's a really great way to enhance my creativity. So I would say the main obstacle of morning pages is that it takes a little bit more energy to do. The gratitude journal is step by step. You just follow the prompts, you're done. With this, you have to use your mind a little bit more. It's worth it, but it takes a little bit more time to do. So if you need more than 5 minutes in the morning, I wouldn't start here, but I would highly recommend you check out the morning pages. Okay, so the last journaling technique is called the reflection journal. I love this method. There's 3 steps. The first is to write down what you did in the day. I normally did this in reverse order, so I'll write what I just did and then go backwards from that until the second that I woke up. It doesn't have to be everything, but the main events of the day. Next, I write how I felt about the day. It can just be overall, could be at different points in my day. And then finally, I wrote down the next steps. So this is where I would write what I'm planning to do the next day or the next week or the next month, whatever I took from the day and needs to be turned into a to-do list. It's pretty straightforward. You can do this quickly or you can really take your time with it. I really enjoyed this because it generated a massive amount of productivity in my life, and that's because I woke up every day with a checklist of things that I really felt motivated to do. So I would highly recommend it if you are somebody who is waking up and not really sure what you should be doing in the day. Especially when it comes to your own creative projects. Often with work, you're told what to do, but when it comes to doing things, whether that's for pleasure or for curiosity, it's great to have an idea of what you're gonna do. Another benefit is you can remember more about your life and your day. If you list out in reverse order your whole day, you're gonna get better at remembering your life events, and you're gonna have a collection of stories that you can share. One of the obstacles of this reflection journal is that you might not have the energy to always write down your entire day and how you felt and all the next steps. So again, you can make this as short or as long as you want, but just be aware that towards the evening, at least for myself, I don't have the same energy that I had in the morning. So to counteract this, I usually try to do it before I get tired, which is usually before I eat dinner. After the dinner, there's a carb crash and I'm usually out. So write the reflection journal at the end of the workday or really whatever time works best for you. And then if you have energy or if you want to, you add the things that happened after that, and that's a way to kind of counteract you missing days. And of course, you can also just do this once a week. I think the gratitude journal is great for a daily practice, but maybe the reflection journal is just a once a week thing or even once a month. But I do think doing it is very valuable. So all of these journaling methods are great, but which one is for you? The gratitude journal allows you to appreciate the small things in life and to be open to the possibilities of greatness in your day, but leaves little room for creative expression. The morning pages is a great creative outlet, but it can be challenging if you don't have a lot of time or if you're just not fired up with any ideas. And finally, the reflection journal is a great way of uncovering what's affecting you in your life by reviewing how you feel about your mood, and then also so you can plan your next steps in life. So personally, I use all three methods, but not every day. The gratitude journal has been a non-negotiable for me. It's a perfect daily practice that takes so little time, but the morning pages is something I wish I did more of. The creativity that I found has been amazing, and it's definitely something that I need to do more of. Finally, the reflection journal is something that creates the momentum. Again, I actually do this very often as well, not every day, but if I can, I get it done. And if I were to recommend something, it would be to do it at least once a week for a little bit and see if you feel any of the effects. It's really about figuring out which one is best for you or what combination works best for you. So please let me know in the comments which ones you're excited to try and which ones you might already be doing, or some new ones that you've been doing for a while and like or dislike. Definitely comment that down below. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope it's been a pleasurable reminder of how you can cultivate more joy, creativity, and focus in your life. I'm very excited to hear your advice or tips on journaling as well. And any advice you have for newcomers to this space, please share them down below. I think it can be a great space where we can all learn from each other. If you're interested in learning more tools, systems, and life lessons that I've learned, please hit the subscribe button, and I cannot wait to share them. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Peace. It's hard to understate the importance of being aware of what you're thinking about. So often we let our thoughts lead our lives without giving them a second look. And we end up asking ourselves, how did I get here? Fortunately, there's a tool to help us address this matter, which is being aware of what you're thinking about, or being mindful. In this video, I'm going to talk about what mindfulness is, why it's important, and how it can be implemented. There's a quote I love by Eckhart Tolle, and it reads, "Rather than being your thoughts and emotions, be the awareness behind them." The lens that I see life through changed when I understood this quote. And simply, it's that you are not your thoughts. You are you. You are behind your thoughts. You can look at your thoughts, just like your feelings. You are not your feelings. They're a part of you. You notice them, but they are not you in their entirety. Okay, so part one. Similar to how one would train their heart by running or train their muscles by going to the gym, you can train your brain to become mindful. The difference is that instead of a physical manifestation that occurs after cardiovascular training or running, mindfulness affects your conscious experience. So when you train and you're running long distances over a long period of time, you can do things that you couldn't do before. If you are a marathon runner, you can run long distances, but if you've never run before, you can't do that. That's kind of a good way to look at your mind too. If you practice mindfulness, you're gonna be able to do things you couldn't before. So you might not lose your temper. You might be happier when normally you wouldn't be. Practicing mindfulness is so powerful because it changes your conscious experience. So ultimately, training your mind allows you to move through situations in an entirely new way. When I began this journey, I was super curious between the difference between mindfulness and meditation. I wasn't sure if they were the same thing. And without going into too much detail, here's how to think about it. Mindfulness involves paying deliberate attention to the present moment without judgment, with the aim of fostering self-awareness and an open, non-reactive attitude. Meditation, on the other hand, is a specific technique or exercise that involves focused attention on a single point, like the breath or a mantra, and aims to achieve heightened concentration or relaxation. It's important to note here that mindfulness can be also practiced as a meditation. So there are mindfulness meditations, but separately from mindfulness meditations, there's the quality of mind of mindfulness. So just like joy is a quality of mind, feeling joyful, mindfulness is a quality of mind where you can feel mindful or you can be aware of the present moment. So why is mindfulness so important? There's this idea that I love, as you think you shall become. It actually comes from the Bible in Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. And the King James Version says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This is such a powerful idea. The fact that if you think something and believe it, you'll see that. Thoughts, actions, result. And even if you think about it from an imaginary perspective, it's part of your conscious experience. If you are thinking on something, it inhabits your imagination, and therefore, on some level, whether imaginary or physically apparent, it becomes manifested. If you are looking at getting a new car, you might start seeing that new car everywhere. And it's not that the manufacturer started making more cars or everyone started buying that car. It's actually something known as the Bader-Hoff phenomenon, or also known as the recency bias, frequency illusion. There's a lot of names for this, but it's a cognitive bias that explains that when you experience seeing something for the first time, you might see it again and again and again if your mind is focused on it. I think knowing this is pretty transformational. It gives you the awareness that you can choose better thoughts. If what you think about has an effect on what you pay attention to, and vice versa, it makes sense to make sure you're focusing as much attention on the right thoughts. The next time you're frustrated or angry, remember that no one is choosing those thoughts except for you. You are the one that gives meaning to everything within your conscious experience, so it is up to you to decide what thoughts and actions will lead to the outcome that is best. Okay. Part 3, practicing mindfulness. So a really practical way to implement this is through breathing. Just focusing on the air coming into your nostrils, filling up your belly and then your lungs. Counting your breaths, or inside your head or out loud, saying in and out as you breathe in and out. And this will keep your attention focused on the breath and not your grocery list or the thing you have to do for work. Another way to implement mindfulness is through a guided meditation. These can be a great place to start for many people. It being guided helps because you're less likely to have your mind wander. If someone's talking to you, you're gonna stay more focused on what the person is saying. Although I will say it can go a long way just to practice in silence and to train that muscle yourself. Understanding that every thought has a future implication in regards to my mental and emotional health, and ultimately the outcome I will have at the end of the day, at the end of my life, is an important reminder. To say it very simply, being aware of my thought life has allowed me to focus on what matters most. I hope this has been positive food for thought for you, and if you got anything out of this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing for more mindsets, tools, vlogs, and anything that I decide to post on here. Please comment below any thoughts you have on mindfulness. I would love to hear them. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Alrighty, it's time to get some work done. I'm tired, but I'm gonna do some breathing and then sit back. So the name deep work implies exactly what I'm doing in this time period, but I want to explain why it's so important and why I do it so early. So, what is deep work? Deep work is uninterrupted, completely focused, intentional work on the most essential tasks that can be completed in a specific time frame. It is not a time period where I'm setting a far out goal like creating a research paper. Instead, this time is for acting on the smaller tasks that make up that larger project, such as creating an outline, writing the introduction, writing down top of mind sources that I would want to use in the research paper. The goal here is to apply pressure to the levers that will most greatly move me toward my intended goal. Aside from just doing the work that actually matters, it's important not to use the internet. There's a lot of statistics on how often we're interrupted by our phones. It's pretty clear that I need to create an environment where I'm not going to be distracted, as we're living in the most distractible era ever. I'm on airplane mode, do not disturb, and I'm not even allowed to use the internet during this time period because I found that as soon as you open up that door to social media, YouTube, you name it, if you open up the door to the internet, there's going to be distractions there waiting for you. I normally use do not disturb. Another way to do this is to use a focus mode. So if you do need to have certain calls coming in, you can set that up, which is really great. Depending on your work or your family situation, that can be good too. If you can't go completely offline, I can make a future video on focus modes and the benefits of using those. Deep work is important, as we've mentioned, because you're able to do the important work. And second of all, it allows you to tap into the flow state, the state of mind where you are working at your maximum capacity and efficiency and everything is coming to you without you having to think about it much. You know, it's when the hours go by and you don't even know that the time has passed. This can happen a lot of time with athletes, surfers, skateboarders, doesn't matter what sport you're playing, you can enter that state where everything is just clicking and you don't have to think, you just do. And research has shown that we are primed to enter the flow state within the first hour upon waking up. So that's another reason why I do the deep work session as early as I can. There's also research to show that the activity that we do first when we wake up is something that's going to constantly release dopamine later in the day. Another important reason why getting up at 5 and 5:30 and having these windows be consistent is related to the circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is set by when the sun rises and when the sun falls. Your body is really in tune with this. So if you're going to bed at different times of day, this is going to really interrupt your circadian rhythm, and that's going to affect a lot of your hormones, and downstream of your hormones is going to be how you feel and how you function. It's going to affect your performance. So for me, getting up at the same time and trying to go to bed at the same time every single day is of utmost importance. Not something I do all the time, but the goal is to be going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. Of course, I do listen to my body as well. If I've had a really hard workout or I've pushed myself mentally, I'm going to listen to myself and I'm going to sleep more or do whatever I need to get myself on the right track. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please don't forget to subscribe. Comment what you want to see on the channel too. Lots in store, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are as well. Have a blessed rest of your day. Peace. Things do not always go as planned, kind of like this morning routine. It's not happening every single day. This is what I strive for. This is what I create structure around. My morning routine can be broken into 5 distinct sections: PWP, deep work, rejuvenation, skincare, eating. So let's get into it. The first section is the PWP, short for praise, word, prayer. This is all about getting grounded in God and is the most essential part of my morning routine. The first thing I do is praise God. When I wake up, I try to get grounded in gratitude for being alive, and I bring that gratitude to God. Second part is the Word. So that's when we're reading God's Word. I'm getting into the Bible. When you wake up, you have very little excitement or dopamine in your brain. The first thing that you do is going to release dopamine, and your brain is going to continue to seek out that activity. So for me, that's why getting grounded in God is so important, because throughout the day, my brain is keyed into, okay, stay grounded in the bigger picture. Stay grounded in what really matters. It allows me to cultivate gratitude and create from a place of love. So it's really important to me that that's the first thing that I do. I get into my prayer doing the SOAP method and by writing to God. I have been doing the SOAP method for about a year now, and what this entails is writing down a verse of scripture, what I observed about it, how I can apply it to my life, and then a prayer to go along with it. As you might have seen, I have a video on how I journal, and one part of the journaling was the gratitude journaling. And this year I decided to combine the gratitude journaling with SOAP, and if I have a dream that I want to note down, I'll write it within this time frame as well as any other thoughts that are circulating in my mind. As soon as I finish the PWP section, I get into my deep work. But before I do that, I will usually brush my teeth, splash some water on my face, and this is a conscious cue to myself that I'm about to get into work. I use this app called Endel, which allows you to just get into the flow state a little bit more easy and stay focused. No lyrics, but I really enjoy using that app just to have some kind of music to give rhythm to the work I'm about to get into. I usually work in 30-minute intervals. I use the Pomodoro technique, which is working between 25 and 30 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. I have these hourglass timers that I use for that to have a visual reminder that's not technology. This just helps to have less of a reason to pick up your phone. Okay, so the third stage of my routine is to rejuvenate. If I'm working 9 to 5 or I have some other prearranged commitment, then I'm not gonna be able to rejuvenate because it takes time, or I might squish this routine down, but generally I'll push this to a later part of my day. I'll do it after I go to work, but in an ideal world, I will complete this right after I do my deep work as it sets up the rest of my day. So I begin with a breathing meditation, and I will share the details of how to perform it in this video here. Wim Hof is the guy who popularized this method, but the reason to do this breathing technique is because it creates a massive amount of calm, focus, and increases athletic performance. Now, I turned this breathing exercise into a meditation as well recently, and this is where I implement my PWP framework as well. Every round that I'm holding my breath, I meditate on God during those times. For the first retention, I'm bringing to God anything of gratitude that comes to mind. Second retention, I'm working on my word memorization. And the third retention is when I will pray. And during the fourth, I'll just try to listen, because that's when I'm going to be most present. So this breathing and meditation has evolved over the past year. When I first started, I was just doing the breathing, my mind would wander, and then I started to try to get more intentional about the retention phases and the breathing overall. And just this week I was like, what if I implemented prayer, word, praise into the breathing too? It's kind of a great way to double down on intention in my day. The second part of the rejuvenation phase is stretching and mobility, or I'll do something that's going to enhance my physical health and something that I wouldn't typically do in the gym. For example, lymphatic drainage, that's something I've been learning about, and this is also a time period where I might be doing that. And depending on how my body is feeling, depending on what's tight, depending on what I have to do that day or that week, I'll be doing something for that. So this is just 15 minutes of isolated time into my longevity. And the great thing about doing it in this section is after the breath, I have a lot of patience. So normally I would get bored, but I just feel so good after doing the breath and after being so present that this stretching time actually becomes extremely enjoyable. The last phase of the rejuvenation is movement, exercise. This can be strength training, this can be cardiovascular training, this can be skills training, this can be martial arts, this can be a class. This is just getting moving, getting the heart rate up. Whatever I have planned for that week, this is also changing all the time, but this is the time to move. This next part is also a bit rejuvenating, but I don't have it as part of my rejuvenation routine because this is something that also has to happen in the first part of my day. Skincare. I actually just started a new skincare routine this week that I'm super excited to share. So if you want to see the full routine, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned. What I have for breakfast depends on what I have to do and how much time I have. So if I have to run for work, I'm gonna have maybe some overnight oats, banana, some blueberries, some athletic greens. If I have more time, I might make an omelet with avocado toast, or my famous banana pancakes. I'll have to make a video on that too. So I will say my morning routine has changed drastically over the past year. I've spent a lot of time creating it and tweaking it, but I'm sure it will change. I don't think it's perfect for everyone, but it's perfect for where I'm at right now. So implement what you will from different parts of it, or leave it all. Either way, I hope you learned something. I hope that this pushes you to try some new things to make your morning a little bit more special, a little bit more present. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be coming out with an evening routine. Comment what you want to see on the channel too. Lots in store, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are as well. Have a blessed rest of your day. Peace.